Women who gave nice guys a chance, how did it work out? Story number 1. He seemed a bit shy but goofy, smart and genuinely kind when he approached me, so I agreed to go out and we hit it off at first. Deep, meaningful conversation about our personal challenges, him quickly meeting my friends. And me being the first person he called after a family emergency. We were both pretty vulnerable, but things were seemingly progressing somewhat well. One day he was on Tinder in bed next to me, and when called on it, he said that dating me had made him realize that he needed more confidence and experience with women, and thus needed to date a lot more different people. But that he only f***ed the others at their houses, so I was obviously his number one. I freaked, cried, and broke things off. He called me the next day to casually ask me out to the new Hunger Games movie. Story number 2. Went on a brilliant date. I had the best time. He came back to mine because he said he couldn't get a taxi. I put him on his sofa, and he came into my room in the night and tried to have sex with me. I pretended to be asleep, hoping he'd stop. He didn't. He fell asleep with his hands on my boobs and his heart on my back. Then in the morning he left and never spoke to me again. Story number 3. He knew we were meant to be. I just needed to accept it. Lots of backstory, and I'll do my best to summarize. We had gone to elementary and middle school together in Texas and hadn't ever really talked. In 8th grade, my family moved states. I turned 16 and he adds me on Facebook. No biggie. He starts messaging me and immature me was ecstatic. Until I realized every sweet thing he said was delivered to manipulate me into only talking to him, ignore my friends and family, only talked for a few weeks, and I broke off our chats. When he insisted he should visit and was talking marriage at 16, he wouldn't stop harassing me, so I blocked him. Flash forward and I am now 22 and a familiar name pops up in my inbox. He's changed. He is more mature and not insecure, thinks I was the one that got away. I believe in second chances and tell him we can talk as friends and reconnect. Mistake number 1. Decent enough conversations ensue and he does seem to have grown out of his manipulative ways. 2. I agree to date long distance. He fears that I'd cheat with anyone that I would look at me, especially with my best friend. 4. Female, that's married. Countless conversations on the matter. He was so good to me. He loved me. Didn't understand why I spent so much time with her and my godson, her son. If there wasn't anything going on, insists he needs to visit for a week. 3. My best friend offers to host him so he can save money and be put at ease. That week was the most awkward time to exist. He thought he would parent her son, do her a favor while her husband was at work. I was livid and mortified. He was an ass of a guest, and any conversation on the matter was my misunderstanding of events. Any arguments were my miscommunication. I broke up with him on the 3rd day out of the 7 he was to be there. He'd wait until 3 a.m. to discuss things, cry that I just didn't understand how much he cared about me, and that as smart as I was, he couldn't believe I'd turn him down again. 7 a.m. he wakes me up with breakfast he'd picked up using my car. The day was spent with me telling him to take the next flight home, while I cleaned up the general mess had made of the guest room. He meanwhile spent the time following me and telling me what a mistake I was making, the best man I'd find, how smart and beautiful I was and how we were meant to be, oh, and that I should sleep more. The bags under my eyes were unbecoming. He finally left when best friend's husband came home early at my request and told him to get a flight out and leave immediately. I failed to condense this any further. It was the most cringy nice guy experience of my life and the last. Story number 4. Had a nice guy on Tinder who didn't make it to date for the following reason. He lived in a different city, so he insisted on an all-day date. Lives about 50 minutes away. I said I'm not comfortable subscribing to 8+ hours with someone I hadn't met yet, but he kept insisting I had to make it worth his while to come through. At this point I said, I can't see it going anywhere and it was putting me under pressure, and that made me feel a little uncomfortable, that realistically, it may not work out, so let's just leave it. So then he says he's gonna book a hotel and come through. Explained that's sweet, but it's making me uncomfortable. So he says I can have the bed and he'll be a gentleman and have the sofa. I explained that he seems to have the wrong idea. I'm not going to a hotel with him, and I feel uncomfortable. I don't want to meet, he continues to press, saying he is nice guy. He won't make me have sex if I don't want to. I say I don't want to. I don't want to go to a hotel. I don't want to meet, it's too much pressure. And for someone I've not met, I feel uneasy. Thanks, good luck with your search. But apparently, I need to give him a chance. He's willing to come all this way. I say no. He keeps finding new things to message me, uses my phone number to add my Snapchat, and says he can see what street I'm on. At this point, I start feeling very uneasy. I didn't know I had location on. I block him. He messaged on something else, so I say I've got back with my ex. I see my ex a lot. We are good friends. He's happy to have a word, so he starts going on about my ex. Had his chance and blew it. He is a much nicer guy than my ex. He will treat me like a princess and worship me, and my ex has blown it, etc. I tell him this is my choice. Thanks and goodbye. Please don't try to message me on anything else, as it's not appropriate and I've already blocked on 3 things. Fast forward for months and I move cities, I get an Instagram message, it's the nice guy, saying he's seen my on Bumble in this new city, and even though we haven't matched it, must not have worked out with my ex. He's using Instagram and can see I'm near the station, is that even a thing? And we should go on that date that I owe him. Blocked again, had a friend stay over that night. Story number 5. I didn't actually give him a chance, but I was talking to my guy friend, Andrew, in the break room at work one day, and another guy jumps in the conversation with a "Hey man, what's up?" to Andrew. I assumed they must be co-workers. After that, he proceeds to stop by my office every night. On his way out to make increasingly awkward small talk, I mentioned that I have a boyfriend, true, but he keeps coming anyway looking for anything to talk about. Hey, pointing to the cartoon on the box of cereal on my desk, it looks like we're both into anime. Nope, I'm just into generic Lucky Charms, dude. I try to be friendly. Then he escalates into things like, does your boyfriend come take you out to lunch every week? No. You deserve someone who treats you better than that. He offers to build me a better desk. I decline and get a geez. I'm just trying to do something nice for you. I tell him these conversations are making me uncomfortable, and when I'm at work, I'm working. He gives me a geez. I was just saying hi on my way out. I close my office door. He keeps coming and knocking. I keep the door closed and wave him off. He gives me flowers for Valentine's Day. I go to my friend Andrew and ask him if he'll tell his coworker to f*** off. Turns out Andrew has only ever talked to him that one time in the break room. We look him up in the company directory, and the guy works 2 floors below me, so I'm not on his way out. Eventually, I called corporate security and they had a talk with him and his boss and deactivate his badge access to my floor.